Hello, my name is Issy Gallardo and I'm a third year physiotherapy student at the University of Brighton. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my placement experiences and what I thought helped whilst I was on placement and what I wish I'd known. So one of the things that I found really helped whilst on placement was in-service training. So one of the hospitals that I was at whilst on a neuro placement offered training days for students. For example, one day we learned how to take soap notes, and I thought that was really useful because they showed you all the documentation and how they wanted you to write it out and what was professional. And this was really helpful as it was one of my first placements, so I'd never worked in a professional setting before. One of the other things we learned was how to communicate with the MDT, so what sort of information you needed to give to physiotherapists when handing patients over and what information you needed to give to doctors when handing patients over. Another thing we learned, which was really helpful for me, was discharge planning and all the different discharge pathways that you could send patients down. So for example, sending them home, sending them to a care home, sending them home with a care package, and learning about this was really useful. One of the other things that I found really helpful was having an induction day. So on the first day they showed us around the hospital to get our bearings, know our way around, and they also gave us lockers to keep all our stuff, which was also really good because I know some places don't do that. And they went through all the fire procedures and crash procedures, so we felt really comfortable with what we were doing. And lastly, they also gave us a lot of contacts in case we didn't feel comfortable. We had to go ask anybody anything or we had any concerns. IT resources also. If the placement that you're on can give you a company login or a hospital login, IT details, it makes the placement a lot easier because you can log into all their IT systems and access patient records, patient notes, and communicate with the other members of the team. Some things that I wish I'd known whilst on placement, I wish I'd known how to work the bleep system, which can be quite complicated if you don't know what you're doing. It would have been really helpful if they had just sort of explained it and let us have a go, try it out, and it's quite simple once you know how to do it. I also wish I'd known a little bit more about different discharge pathways. So each trust is different. I know down in the southeast they have something called Home First, which they try and get patients, as it says in the name, home first. But I wasn't very familiar with all the different things that we could do when discharging patients, so this would have been really good to know. And finally, I would have liked to have known a little bit more about what other professionals did, such as speech and language therapists. I learnt this whilst on placement, but when I arrived, there was a lot of work with OTs and language therapists, nutritionists, but because I didn't really know what they did, I couldn't really work with them very well. So this is something that I wish I'd known. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what sort of things you can do to prepare for placement and some ideas for what educators can do to make your placement easier.